is a no-win situation when you're walking in with someone who has decided that he is going to align himself with a dictating thug.
Is there a middle ground we can get to?
There's not a middle ground with this president. He has no intentions of doing right by, number one, the United States. I appreciate what the former governor was saying. We are in a national security crisis. We have been in a national security crisis ever since, honestly, before he even ran. We know that he had our national secrets stored at Mar-a-Lago. People felt like that wasn't really a big deal. They wanted to compare it to what was going on with Joe Biden. We know that he was showing this to people that maybe weren't supposed to see our national security secrets. We know that he is consistently engaged in questionable deals as it relates to our emoluments clause when he was in the first go round. Next thing you know, his son-in-law was getting a lot of money from the Saudis as soon as they walked out. And so right now, and not to mention, he has decided that his DOJ will not prosecute cases that engage in any type of foreign nefariousness when it comes to getting money. So unfortunately, we have someone that is occupying the White House. And as far as I'm concerned, he is an enemy to the United States.
Ms. Jasmine Crockett, everybody, once again bringing the tea, and it is hot. Hi, my name is Suri Crowe, and you are watching the MeidasTouch Network. Well, the fallout from Trump's disastrous meeting with President Zelensky continues. After Trump's pathetic, boot-licking cabinet kicked a wartime president who was supposed to be our ally out of the White House last week, European allies gathered round Zelensky with open arms this past weekend and made it clear that they will move on with or without the support of the United States. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron led the effort. The British Prime Minister is trying to place London at the forefront of Europe's response to the Trump upheavals. According to the Washington Post, Starmer on Saturday fast-tracked a surge in the UK defense spending and pledged British troops as a main part of a potential future European security force in Ukraine. And on Sunday, he called on other European governments to grow their militaries and to join a coalition of the willing in taking up the slack in Ukraine. And in fact, Prime Minister Starmer has now pledged up to, I believe it's 1.8 billion. It may be more than that by now, as the other European allies gathered to support Ukraine and President Zelensky. And as Chris Jackson posted on X over the weekend, what a split screen. World leaders unite to support Ukraine and stand against authoritarianism. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is golfing in Florida. Embarrassing America first has become America alone. And if you look at the photo that all the European allies took this weekend surrounding President Zelensky, you'll notice that even the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, who is very far right, almost borderline, some would argue fascist, and has been a close supporter of President Trump, even she was there to defend Ukraine. She has been very adamant that the West must not abdicate its responsibility in supporting President Zelensky and the Ukrainian people. So that should tell you something. And that is a pretty big message to the U.S. at this critical moment in history. But let's go back to that horrifying moment in the Oval, shall we? Because there are a couple of things that I want to point out that I don't think are getting enough attention.
Don't know exactly how much, because we're going to be putting some money in a fund that we're going to get from the raw earth that we're going to be taking and sharing in terms of revenue. So it's going to be a lot of money will be made from the sale and from the use of raw earth. And as you know, our country doesn't have much raw earth. We have a lot of oil and gas, but we don't have a lot of the raw earth. And what we do have is protected by the environmentalists, but that can be unprotected, but still it's not very much. They have among the best in the world in terms of raw earth. So we're going to be using that, using it for all of the things we do, including AI and including weapons and the military, and it's really going to very much satisfy our needs. So
this whole meeting with Zelensky was a shakedown to begin with. It was an extortion attempt by Trump, like the mob boss that he is. We'll protect you if you hand over your earth minerals.
The Trump administration was basically extorting the Ukrainians, saying, we want half your mineral wealth. Nice country you got there. That deal ultimately did not get signed, not least because Zelensky was kicked out of the White House unceremoniously. It's just one humiliation after another. And it should be noted that Volodymyr Zelensky will be counted in the annals of history as an immense hero. And not just a hero to his own people, the Ukrainians, but a hero to what we call the West, the free world. He is right. He never demanded that the United States send troops. He never demanded the Europeans send troops. He asked for as much assistance as he could get, even as he was watching tens of thousands of his citizens being killed on the battlefield.
And then there was this lovely exchange.
The country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military equipment, and you men are brave, but they had to use our military.
Now, this part drives me crazy. The U.S. did not give Ukraine $350 billion in aid. That is a lie that Prime Minister Keir Starmer and President Macron both called out to Trump's face when they were with him in the Oval Office last week. But Trump, who is a pathological liar, doubled down on his lie, and he keeps repeating it. And not one of the White House press corps that I could hear called Trump out on this when they were in the gaggle. The facts are that the Europeans have paid far more than the United States has, to the tune of $145 billion, as compared to the $119 billion in aid to Ukraine. And in fact, the whole reason that we are in this mess to begin with, if we take a little trip down history lane, was because Trump was president in 2019 and refused to give military aid to President Zelensky without extorting him. Remember, Zelensky told him to go pound sand when Trump said that if he was going to provide military aid to Zelensky, that he wanted dirt on President Biden and Hunter Biden. And this is why we are here right now. Trump says, oh, this war would have never happened if I was president. Well, that is just a load of bullshit. The reason that Putin got a head start was because Trump refused to give Ukraine aid in the first place. And Trump is a small, pathetic criminal who is now going to punish President Zelensky for having principles. And it doesn't matter if he takes down the entire free world with him. Oh, and guess who warned us all about this?
If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
I am so sick of the misogyny in this country, because that is now twice that we had brilliant, incredibly qualified women literally tell us what would happen if Donald Trump got into the White House the first time and what would happen again if he got back there, in the form of Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris. And they were on the money. And now the world order is upside down. And Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and the MAGA cult that voted for this are too motherfucking stupid to realize how dangerous this is for all of us. Because you see, this isn't just about Ukraine. Putin wants to destroy the West. So it's not Zelensky who should be thanking us over and over. It's the West who should be thanking him and his brave people, because they are in fact holding the line against the evil aggression and imperialism of Vladimir Putin. Trump is too stupid and ill-informed and egocentric to figure out that he is in fact a pawn in Putin's chess game. Here is Michael McFaul, who is the former U.S. ambassador to Russia.
And I think this is really important for the American people to focus on. So let's just even leave aside what's good for Ukraine or not. And let's talk about what's good for America. What happened on Friday was not good for the United States of America. It isolates us. It's not America great, it's America alone. And this play to try to be friends with Vladimir Putin will end in disaster because Putin has no love for our country. He hates our country. He wants to destroy our country. He wants to destroy the free world that David was talking about. And he sees Trump as a useful instrument for that. He's not going to abandon Xi Jinping, this crazy idea that some are floating. He's going to come to our camp. That is entirely hogwash. And I think the American people need to understand just how dangerous this is for us.
Lastly, I don't know when we will have a true Democratic leader in the White House again. I really don't know. And it breaks my heart to say that. The fascist Republicans have rigged and cheated the system pretty badly. And the Supreme Court is clearly pro-authoritarianism at this point in time. As far as we can see, they have jammed up the courts. I mean, President Biden did a damn good job putting in judges that would protect democracy, but we have a president and a Congress who are willing to just completely break the rule of law. So I thought that I would drop in this clip of President Biden going into Ukraine, into an active war zone that was unprotected by U.S. American troops, to stand side by side with Zelensky and the Ukrainian people, because I want us to remember what an American president who was fighting for freedom looked like, and standing for not only the American people, but for the Western alliance of freedom and democracy that has stood for 80 years. Thanks for watching, and let's stand and fight for peace.
Shared it with his people because he was there. This moment when President came, it was very important for boosted morality of Ukrainian people. It was the first time, by the way, in the history of the United States of America, when the President of the United States is in a country which is in a war, but not controlled by American army.
As President Zelensky pointed out, he was aware that no American president has gone into a war zone without the military guarding him. But I was determined to show up in Kyiv to let the world know we supported the Ukrainian people against Russian aggression. There's no better way to show it than for an American president to get on a train on a multi-hour ride to say, we're with you.
There in Ukraine, they know what does the support of United States cost. And people looked at this, it means that Ukraine is not alone.
We couldn't fly in, we were afraid to get shot down. And the concern of the Secret Service was they were going to know we're here, someone's going to do something to take out the train. What it was like was hoping to communicate to the people of Ukraine, they're brave as hell, that we weren't going to walk away.
You never know what will be next. That is the tragedy of the war. We didn't really imagine it. Will it be tomorrow? When the war came, when Putin came, we thought that we have to survive maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. I remember the feelings, maybe 20 days, maybe months, then maybe 2 months, then 3 months. After the year, the war didn't stop. The winter were the first blackouts. People never knew how to live without energy, without electricity, without phone calls. Our people, you have to know our people, they are very strong, and they, even during the night, they begin to sing songs in the streets in the winter. If you want not to lose your country, don't lose your people. And I think what was between us, between presidents, I think something changed. It began to be between, not two presidents, between two men. We will understand what all of us really did for Ukrainians' life. And I think it's so important that we will see that big role in Biden played.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.